Okay, so we've got our image, and what we've already done is set up our color sampler. It's taping. So we have our color sampler tools set. We've got it set by a 3x3 average. We have our info palette pulled up. We've got K for grayscale and RGB for our red, green, and blue. We've already made a background copy, and I have levels pulled up. We've set our black eyedropper. When I double click it, it should show, where is it? It should show our white eyedropper is set and our black eyedropper is set. So now we're going to look at our image, and we need to find black in our image, okay? You're gonna watch me go through everything, and then you're gonna go back to your computers. So we gotta find black in our image. I have conveniently selected an image that has black in it, that has white in it, and it also has the red and yellow that I need for the project. You will encounter times where you don't have black and white in your picture. That's gonna take on a different set of tools or rules, but I wanna show you guys how to do this the long way, and then I'm gonna show you how to do it the short way, okay? So, in looking at my image, I can already see that I've got some areas that should have some very dark shadows, but I want to be able to see it more clearly. In order to do that, what I'm going to do in the properties panel of my levels, with the black eyedropper selected, you see that it's highlighted. Now I'm going to go down to the bottom of my histogram. You'll see that we have these little triangles at the bottom of the histogram. One is black, one is gray, and one is white. The black one is going to correspond to our shadow. I'm going to, here's my finger, right? I'm going to click the black triangle, and I'm going to hit Option. Option is like a hidden key in Photoshop. There'll be options beyond what you see when you hit Option for many different tools. So whenever I click on this black triangle and I hit Option and I hold it down, it's going to show me the clipping in my image, where we have shadow clipping in different channels. So that's why you're seeing all these different colors in the image. So I'm going to pull over my, my black triangle, this slider, and you can start to see where black comes up in the image. So this is where our darkest shadows are in the image. Where you see color, that is the highest it is in a color channel. But I want to see where we get black, because I want to find out where our target shadow is. Now I can see that there's quite a bit over here. So that I can see this better, and when I take my finger off the Option key, it goes away. But I want to be able to see this better, that area better. So I'm going to zoom in. Does anybody know the key command for zooming in Photoshop? Command and the plus. So I can zoom in, and how do we move things around very easily? Space bar. Notice the space bar turns it from an eyedropper to a hand, and now I can just zip over to where I want to be, and it is enlarged for me to be able to pick what I need in the image. Hold down that Option key again, and now I'm seeing where black is first starting to come up in the image. So I'm going to do this again. I'm going to go over to my levels palette. It's at 0 right now, and I'm going to pull this over some so that I start to see black in my image. So that's where all of those different color channels are overlapping to give us black. Does that make sense? Where all those different color channels are overlapping to give us an absolute black. And right in here, we've got black. Now I want you guys to look, I'm going to take my finger off, but I want you to look over here in my info palette. So when I click here, do you see in my info palette where it says K, 99 and 100%? So that's saying that's near black. So the first number is what it was before the slash. The second number is what it is now. I like to say what it was, what it is. What it was, what it is. So 99 was what it was. Now that I've pulled that slider over in my info palette to 5, now it's up at 100. So now it's that absolute black. look in our RGB. Do you see in the first numbers it says 444? The second number says 000. So 444 is what it was. Now, what tool do I have selected right now? The black eyedropper. What did I set my target shadow to earlier? 777. So when I click here, what you should see happen where it says 000, it should change it to 777. Let's test it out. It went to white because I had the clipping still selected, but what does it say now? 777. So now that's reset our black from where it was initially to our new target shadow. Let's look and see what change, if any, occurred whenever I pull out of my image. To turn a layer on or off, to change the visibility of an image, we have an eyeball next to the layer. And we can just click on that eyeball and it's going to turn the visibility on and off so we can see what we've affected in the image. So right here is the eyeball. That's the change. It's a magnificent, significant change. Wouldn't you all agree? You're not seeing anything change. That's fine. That's okay. It can be, it's typically pretty subtle, but what this is doing is it's taking any, okay, let me go back. I'm gonna go backwards. So I just undid setting my black point. I wanna show you guys again. I'm gonna zoom in, go over, and holding my Alt Option key, I'm gonna drag the slider over until we have absolute black. And now we've got, do you see where it says 4, 3, 4 in the red, the green, and the blue? So that's saying that there is slightly more green in that area than those other two colors. Whenever I click there and I turn it to 777, it's gonna neutralize our shadow. So whenever those numbers don't line up, if you have like the red, the green, and the blue are all different numbers, then that means that it's not neutral. What we're trying to do is we're trying to neutralize our shadow, then we're gonna neutralize our highlight, and then we're gonna try to neutralize our midtone. So I'm gonna click there and now we've got 777. So that's our new target shadow. And this is the change that was made. It's subtle. It's subtle, but it's there. You can probably tell the difference because you're looking at this screen. That screen's probably a lot harder. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna name that layer so that I know what I did on that layer. And if you guys don't know how to name a layer, it's just like renaming a file. You double click into the letters, into the text, and you name it. So what did I set here?
Neutral black.
My black point. I'm just gonna put black, so be okay, black, I know what that means. So we've set our black point. I'm gonna go ahead and do another one. Eventually you guys can do all of these on the same levels or curves layer, but for now I wanna be able to see if you did each one of them correctly. So we're gonna do another one, and this is gonna be white. So I need to click on our black and white cookie and do another levels adjustment. This one, I know what I'm gonna change it to. It's gonna be white. I'll go ahead and rename it white. So what should I do now?
Another one.
Do our highlight. So just like we did with our shadow, we're gonna do that with our highlight. So I'm gonna click on my white eyedropper, and I can already tell, I already know you guys where my white is in this image. I happen to have a white towel that was hanging out of the window. So I'm just gonna go ahead and zoom into that. And I'm gonna click in this triangle on the right side, that is our highlight. And I'm gonna use the super special magic option key. That's gonna turn everything black. As I slide this over, I'm gonna start to see where white appears in the image. So this is our target highlight. And what does it say in our info palette? Let's just pull it over here. So right now, where I have it sitting, it was at 6%. Now it's at 0%. And that's in the K. 0 meaning like absolute and pure white. No ink would be laid down if I were to print this. In my RGB, I see that it says 255, 255, 255. Absolute white. No color, no information at all. So when I click, what happens?
Change to 247, 247.
Yeah, so, and it might have been off by a tiny bit. So we've got 247, 247, 247, and in the K, it was 6%, now it's 3%. So I've I've set and neutralized my white point. Now let's go back out and see if we see any change that happens. So that was in my white. I'm gonna turn that layer off by clicking the eyeball. Yep, so you see some change there. So that looks pretty good, not bad, right? So this went from, that's our black, that's our white. It made it a little bit more, has a little bit more contrast. The exposure is a little bit brighter, right? So.
I just have a question. Why didn't you click on the white building and try to make it?
Because that's not white. It's not white. If I were to go in there, and it's a good question, Carolyn, so let's go in there and look at it. This is a building that has been aging on the side of a river in Venezuela, and it is, it's close, but it's a little yellow. When I look in the numbers, I don't even have to look at the monitor. I can look at the numbers, and it says red 231, green 231, blue 223. There are 3 numbers there. 231, 231, the other one, 233. So that means that there is a color cast in that particular channel. What channel is it? The blue channel. Does that building look blue? No, it looks the opposite of blue, which is yellow. Okay, so good question. Glad you asked that. So now we're gonna move back out, and we're gonna try to find a midtone. Okay, so we're gonna look for a midtone. What would be a color that should be neutral?
Say gray.
Yes, good, Patrick. So gray. What we're gonna look for is something that is gray, that is meant to be gray. So not something that's blue. And I'll tell you, one of the best things that you can find for a neutral is stainless steel, like sterling silver, stainless steel, something like that.
Right above the door in the blue building.
So,
on the top and the white.
so I'm gonna go with one of these homemade DirecTV antennas in Venezuela. So I'm gonna go ahead, we did our black point, we did our white point. I'm gonna go ahead and do another one, and this one's gonna be called gray. So this is levels, and this one's called gray. Now here's the part that's not gonna make sense to you guys. I set the black eyedropper, I set the white eyedropper, now I have a gray. So what would be the logical thing to do?
Why?
Go to the gray eyedropper.
Where the hell?
That's okay. The gray eyedropper is in between the black and the white one. This is what you're going to, your gut is going to tell you, go to the gray eyedropper. I'm going to do things differently. What was the very first thing that we did when we set up our workspace? That color sample, the color sample tool. Now look, when I look at my info palette and I zoom around here, notice how the numbers just change all over the place. The color sample tool is going to allow us to click on an area of an image and have those numbers stay exactly the same. It's like, I say it's like laying down a trail of breadcrumbs so that I can figure out what color is off in my midtones. So I'll show you what I'm talking about. So now I'm going to ignore the gray eyedropper. I've set another, I've done another adjustment layer with my with levels, but I'm going to go over here, make sure I've got my color sampler tool selected. If I have the eyedropper tool and I do this, you'll see what it does. It's like it's picking colors. We don't want the eyedropper tool. We want the color sampler tool. We have the sample size on 3x3 average. Now I'm going to go to my image, all right, and I'm going to zoom in to something that should be a neutral gray, and this is another magic number to write down, and it's going to be 68 to 72%. 68 to 72% in the K. So when we were in photo 1 and we were talking about gray cards, does anybody remember what the reflectance of a gray card was? Close, 18%. So the reflectance of a gray card is 18%. The number we're looking for is, if we took 18 away from 100, we're looking in that 68 to 72% range. So that's our mid-gray, that's our middle gray. And we're gonna look at our image. So what am I talking about, 68 to 72% in what? In the K. So we're gonna look here in the K, and as I'm moving things around in the K, there we go, got a 60, got a 69, 68%. So there, we've got a K, it's at 68%, and then the RGB has 87, 83, and 69. If I click right here, you're gonna see those numbers pop up below my, well, I'll just do it. So you see what happens? Now I've got where it says number 1, and that number is there, 87, 83, 69. So I've laid down a color sample point. So now when I move off of the image, those numbers remain the same. Does that make sense? You see what I'm doing? I clicked on it, and it's like, I'm gonna record those numbers for you so that you can use those to color correct your image. So just like we were talking about earlier, Carolyn, where I said, okay, it's a yellow building, so the blue is off. Which color is off in this image? Looking at the one where it says number 1, we've got 87, 83, and 69. Which number is furthest off from the others?
Blue and yellow.
The 69.
Yeah.
That one's that's furthest off. 87 and 83, that's only a 4-point difference, right? 69 to 83, we've got a much more significant difference. So where is our color cast? Once again, it's in that blue channel. The color cast is in the blue channel. If all 3 of those numbers are identical, that means it's neutral. 777, neutral black. 247, 247, 247, neutral white. If all 3 of those numbers line up, and say we had 87, 87, 87 in our gray, then that would mean it was totally neutral.
So that's good, right?
That would be great. But they're not totally lined up, which tells us there's a color cast. How do we fix it?
Well, let me ask you this question. You said you would know that 87 is blue. How would you know that?
So I'm not going by the actual number, I'm just going by the number that's furthest away from the other ones.
And that would be blue. How would you know that?
Because right now the red is 87, the green is 83, and the blue is
See the red?
69.
I need to see.
Go ahead and take a look. So right there where I clicked, where I laid that little sample point, you see it says 87, 83, and
Well, how would I
69.
know what the colors are?
We got red,
Oh, the
Green
red,
and blue.
Okay, by those.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Would you
And-
be able to cast a blue something over it since you know it has a lot of yellow in it to get it neutral?
let's make it even easier. So when we go to our levels panel, has anybody ever noticed that right above your histogram it says RGB?
Yes.
And if we click on that, then it gives us each channel individually laid out, red, green, blue.
Blue. Right.
Which channel do we have a problem in?
Blue.
Blue.
Why didn't you show us the easy way first? That's what I mean, I'm like,
That is easy.
This is precision. The other way, it's going to be letting the computer make a computer educated guess.
okay.
This is going by the numbers, and the numbers don't lie. So this is an analogy that Mark Francis uses. We're flying in a plane. It's dark. We can't see our landmarks.
Yeah.
We're in fog. We can't see any landmarks. We don't know where we're going. What do we have to rely on?
The numbers.
We have to rely on the gauges. The gauges are going to tell us the information that we need. That's the numbers aren't going to lie. So altitude, how far would you? So I don't know all the flying analogies. Like he's the man for that, okay? But you go by the numbers.
Another level later.
So that's what I did. So right, I've got a black, I've got a white, and now my gray. I have not done anything in my gray levels.
Wait, I mean, not create another level, but you have to create another color sampler.
I didn't create a color sampler tool. I just went to the color sampler here, and then I have got that 3x3 average, which is what we set up earlier. And then I looked in my image for something that was between 68 and 72% K,
Right.
gray. And I clicked. And where I clicked, it gave me this color sample point. Let's maybe use another color sample point just to give us,
Top of that roof there.
okay, let's see. Problem is that roof is really light. It's only giving me 32% in my K.
Oh, okay, so that won't work.
So
What about the pole that is on that?
that's where I was going to was right where that pole was. So let's see if I'm here at 60, 50, all right. There, we got another one, 68%. So that's giving us 85, 80, and 71. Same thing. It's showing that the blue is the lowest. The blue is the lowest. So we're gonna go back to our levels, and remember we've got RGB here. We're only gonna affect our blue. So we already moved the slider on this side. That's the shadow.
Uh-huh.
We move the slider on this side. That's our highlight. We're gonna move the slider in the middle, because that's our midtone. I don't care, I'm not even looking at the image. What am I gonna look at? The numbers.
Right.
So I'm gonna look at the numbers, and you're gonna see those numbers change when I change that midtone in the blue. This one says 69, that one says 71. Let's see, which way do I go? I'm going the wrong way. I gotta go up. Okay? And I might not make these all perfectly even, but I've changed this by 0.11 in my midtone. So let's take a look and see where we were. And it's something that when you looked at this in an image initially, you're probably like, it already looks color corrected. How do we know if we need it color corrected? Sometimes we don't, because we can't tell from our screen, right? If our laptop's gonna look different than the Mac's definitely gonna look different than the monitor. So we don't look at the screen because it's not weesy-weesy. It's not what you see is what you get. It's not. But the numbers don't lie. So this image, now that you see it corrected, it's getting rid of some of that hazy yellow. And you might say, you know what? It kind of takes away some of the mood. I think it went too far. You can do that. You can say, I think that it went a little too blue, in my opinion. I'm just gonna knock it back a little bit, and that's fine. So we went from there to there. And you can just see a little bit of that yellow haze come out of the image.
So that comes off the price, if I put it up blue, you know?
And like I said, when you initially see it, you're gonna be like, this looks fine. There doesn't look like there's a color cast in it. So that's how we would correct it the long way, okay?
I want to see the show.
All right.
Yeah.
So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take these 3 images, and if you guys have never put layers into a folder, it's super easy. I'm gonna hit Shift and click. Now I've got my gray, my white, and my black levels all packaged together. And then there's this little thing that looks like a folder down here in our layers palette. I'm gonna click that, and now it groups them together so that I don't have tons and tons of weird layers like all over the place in my folder. So I'm just gonna double click that, and I'm gonna say levels color correct. Okay, and now I can just flip this on and off, and that's gonna take all 3 of those, the black, the white, and the gray, and you'll be able to see the change that was made. I chose an image that it was gonna be subtle, so it didn't look like we had to do much to it initially. But, so that's the change that was made. Now, let's look and see what we can do in a very automated way. So, and I've never done this with levels, but I'm sure that it acts the same way as curves. So I'm gonna open levels again, and you see that there's an auto button there? What? Shut up. It says auto. Now if I click that,
It's gonna somewhat do weird, right?
So wait, there's a way to just auto click it?
but hold on, wait, there's more.
Okay.
There is a button that I mentioned earlier that opens up hidden features. There's a key that
Options.
option. Okay, I don't think that looks very good. I feel like it looks a little bit oversaturated. There's too much contrast and it looks a little washed out. My opinion, my image, and that's what I'm gonna go with. So Command Z, I'm gonna get rid of that auto. Option,
And then click
auto.
Oh.
Dialog box. Hello, dialog box. What options do you have for me? Auto color correction.
Haven't you opened that again?
Option. That's the magic key.
Hold down
Command
Option
Z.
Command,
Option,
well,
auto.
Command Z is just gonna say go back.
Is auto always right?
No,
Okay. Okay.
that's why I did it the long way,
Okay.
Patrick. So auto is not always right. So, yeah, we're back to the original state. There's the auto button. Hold down Option, click auto. Now we have auto color correction. So if you just hit auto, the first thing it's gonna do is it's gonna go enhance brightness and contrast. And that's what it did. It just enhanced brightness and contrast. But look, we have more options. So we have enhanced monochromatic contrast. I'm gonna click on that. Now what just showed up, I'm gonna give you a hint.
The shadow, the three that we just worked on.
Yeah, so enhance monochromatic contrast. When I click on that, it gives me the option to select snap neutral midtones, target colors and clipping, target shadows. Did we clip our target shadows by 0.1%? That's what we did when we hit 777. Do we clip our highlights by 0.1? That's what it did when we did 247, 247, 247. So when I say snap neutral midtones, it's gonna snap the neutral midtones based on what we've clipped our shadows and our highlights to. So now let's just click through them and see which one you like better. I'm gonna move this stuff out of the way. So this is enhanced monochromatic contrast. And then when we do snap neutral midtones, you see that yellow come out of it? So enhance per channel contrast, snap neutral midtones. Tiny bit of change, not much. Fine dark and light colors, snap neutral midtones. These are really, really subtle changes, but guess what? Those three options are better than that. It gives us more control, and it's also snapping our midtones to neutralize them.
So which one do you go with out of those options? That's what.
That's gonna be a matter of personal taste and
Okay.
experience and figuring it out.
Which one would you go with?
I always go through and do the black, the white, and the
Okay.
gray. Like,
Okay.
I mean, I go old school.
I like that one better.
And then I'm like, well, did auto do a pretty good job of it? And a lot of times it can, but I do expect when I open your files to see your level, your layers palette, and have something where it says color correction, where you've done a color correction. And guess what? If you guys just label something called color correction and don't do anything on it, I know. I have plenty of people who make fake layers for me, like, you know, I'm gonna click on and off every layer in your palette. Just saying.
Is this, like a option if your screen is not calibrated? Is that
All right, I'm gonna stop recording real